It's Chelsea.
It's Nina.
And you're in the Critics' Kingdom. Today, we're going to be discussing Smart House.
A classic, a fan favorite, I would say.
On
Definitely
most
top
people's
3.
Top 5. Yeah. Definitely on most people's top 5 of Disney Channel original movies. It came out in 1999. A watershed year.
The cusp of Y2K.
Scary times. Basically scary times.
And that's reflected back to us in the actual plot of this film.
Yes.
Everyone's a little bit worried that
they're gonna die. Just a little worried.
So Chelsea, what if you were to give our audience a quick run through of what this film is about and what happens? What would you say?
So basically, it's about this young child. He's 14, I think, 13 or 14. He's got a little sister, and he's there with his dad. But he basically does everything for the family. He is his father. His dad is useless. All he does is work, and just gets money. But the poor child does everything for everyone. And basically, he decides to enter in the family to this competition to win a smart house that would be completely controlled by a computer. He does. They win. They move into the house. Everything's going great for one moment. Dad's falling in love with the real estate agent.
Which obviously makes him very upset.
Right, because, of course it's Disney, so it's a dead mom film. So they, everything's going all cute. It's good. Everybody loves him. He throws a poppin' party. The girls are just going crazy, basically. And so after that, the woman that is the computer's AI system, which is named Pat, yeah, then starts getting a bit overprotective of the family, if one could say.
It culminates in a full-on lockdown of the house, which is, when I think back on watching this as a child, it was much more terrifying than I remembered it being.
Yes.
Until we watched it again, and I was like, oh, right. There are metal grates on the door, keeping them from the outside.
It's literally a hostage situation.
That's how it ends. And it isn't until, so she, traps them in the house. He fakes appendicitis for a little bit to distract her, so they can try to, reboot her system. It does not work.
No,
she figures it out because the robots will win, y'all. But then she physically manifests herself, which is actually pretty cool. In the hologram, it's pretty cool. Turns into a giant and creates an indoor
tornado.
Natural disaster.
Yeah.
And in doing so, scares the children who are protected by the useless father and his new lover. And then the 14-year-old is able to appeal to, I guess, the human side of this AI and be like, Pat, don't you see what you're doing to us? Don't you see how you could never protect us and hold us in the way that our real human family can? Don't you see this is wrong? And because it's a Disney film, the AI goes not the way of, 2001: Space Odyssey, and is like, oh God, yes, little latchkey boy, I do see.
I understand.
And I'm going to scale back and just be AI and just, make y'all smoothies instead of trying to replace your mother. And they all live happily ever after.
Yeah.
That is...
essentially.
I would say that's pretty much what happens.
Also, everyone needs therapy, but we'll get into that a little bit later.
Everybody needs therapy, that's very true.
In this film. So, for the review, there's so many things in this movie. It's just what can't you talk about? I think you brought up an interesting point about whether this was the beginning of that fusion between hip-hop culture and suburban culture, and whether that was the beginning of it or kind of the end point, when it reached its zenith. And it's an interesting question because I don't think, if you don't know, LeVar Burton actually directed this film. Shout out to Reading Rainbow himself.
Yeah, man.
And there's a lot of Black cultural references in it.
if you want a specific example, the first shot that we have of, it's not the opening shot. The film does open with and we'll get into this too, because I think it's pretty cool that the scientist in this, or like the computer engineer, is a woman.
Yes.
Which is cool, and like you open with her and like I guess her swarmy yellow sunglasses.
Yes.
Turn of the century like business partner.
He is wearing yellow
like
sunglasses. Building
the house and like a leather trench coat. It's fucking disgusting.
99 was a time.
But yeah, the first shot of the latchkey boy, which is how I will choose to refer to him, because that is what he is.
He is a latchkey kid. So is his sister. She's just
little,
younger,
so it's
so
okay.
She can't do much.
The first shot you have of him is him making a casserole in Timberlands, in like suburbia, full on suburbia, and you're just like, why? I don't understand why he's dressed like he's
about
walking home from LaGuardia in New York City, and he's making a casserole. Like, this doesn't make aesthetic sense.
Like,
but
he's clearly
maybe
in
it
like
does.
Sacramento or something.
But
Like,
maybe it does. Like, maybe it's we're at the point, and obviously I can't remember this that well because I was like 6, but we're at the point where like this is now a thing. Like, this is culture.
Right.
It's not regional anymore. It's just like American children.
Right.
It's like a very interesting moment to have sort of preserved through this particular film.
Yeah, and it's one of those things you don't really pick up on it until, like Lena said, we didn't pick up on until we rewatched it. Like, I couldn't remember any of that, but it's all very clearly like hip hop influenced from the fact that even when he has this poppin' party, the song that they're playing is Jumpin', which I'm sure everybody remembers because Disney used to play that music video all the time. Which is like a hip hop influenced pop song. And it's like, you can just see that there was clearly like a lot of things going on at that time. And I don't know if Disney was just like, LeVar, do your thing. And he was like, bet.
Word.
Like,
I got this.
Like, bet, I got you.
Can I see the yellow Tim? I don't think he'd wear baby blue. I don't think that's his color. Like,
it's also because they were clearly not living anywhere cold. That was the other reason it made no sense. But I think it at least would have made sense if he was clearly in like Virginia or Connecticut or Pennsylvania.
It was
like definitely California. Like, I can
always
tell
sunny and palm trees outside.
Why are you wearing Timberlands? Just why? It just made no sense. It was like, clearly this is like a trendy, this is a cultural thing. Because they're all even wearing like the baggy, like the big plaid shirts and like, you know, like that whole thing. So it was very much like, this is like a hip hop influenced movie, even though there's only like one black person in it who was like one of his friends and barely has any lines. Which was pretty typical of Disney at that time.
Which is
pretty typical.
That's how that goes. But yeah, so it was just an interesting thing to note.
Yeah.
As we were watching it. And you know, I guess it's just food for thought, generally, sort of thinking about those historical moments.
I think especially because people always say hip hop only got into the mainstream culture in like the past like 5 to 8 years, and it's like you watch something like this and you're like, no,
it's like, yeah, I think it's been there.
No. I think you could argue now it's of course more pop, but I think you can clearly see that it had a big foothold in the beyond just black culture at that time. And then another thing that we kind of noticed and that we want to start keeping a log of is how many of these DCOM films have dead parents. This one being, I think, the first that we've seen thus far. By 99?
Well, I mean, I guess technically You're a Lucky Dog.
Oh, yeah, You're a Lucky... Well,
like, it's not dead parent, but he died.
He was an orphan.
He's an orphan. Yeah, he's got no parents. And then, I'm sorry, we're technically going off track a little bit. You're a Lucky Dog, we will review.
Which came out earlier.
But yeah, like, it's very... I mean, here's the thing. It's kind of well known at this point that this is something Disney does.
Yeah.
parents are often dead or dying in some capacity. In some
Dead
capacity.
and or dying.
Yeah, so like there's always some.
That's the dramas.
But I do think it'll be fun to keep a sort of running log of like how many like let's say how many Disney Channel films are there? What, like 20 something?
DCOMs?
Yeah.
Oh, there's a lot.
20. Yeah.
Well, it's like 40 something. Maybe?
Yeah, we'll have the exact number.
Yeah.
But see, just what percentage of that falls into what category? You
right.
know? No parents.
One parent.
Which one's like whether it's mother or father?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Disney's done any like progressive.
Where they're both.
Where like they're like same gendered parents, right?
Has not happened? As a movie yet.
Okay.
That I've seen.
And then, or like and which ones of them have like actual parents,
right?
But it would also be nice to see. I think even in that you have the category of like, are they useless or not?
Right. And in this one, his father is useless.
His father is absolutely useless. Which does bring us to that whole part about a huge theme that we figured out in this film was just like Ben is his name.
Yes.
Ben,
the latchkey
boy, needs therapy. And it's not like say that the way like there's an argument to be that everybody needs therapy, in the world. But Ben really needs therapy.
Yeah, no, Ben needs therapy.
Because his mother died and his father didn't talk about her or didn't engage with her death because, he was hurting too much, which parents are human too,
right? Yeah.
But the problem is but he also then had his son. And again, I don't think he meant to do this. It's just sort of what happened. But his son became like the de facto caretaker.
Yeah,
of this whole house.
He picked up the slack from his mom.
And his baby sister didn't remember his mother because she was too little. So
right.
he's running around with like all of this like pain and frustration inside. And at the same time, like being the one who has to like keep the house in order, who has to do the cooking and the cleaning and pick up his little sister from school.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that the boy irons his own clothes. He might also iron his daddy's clothes. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but he clearly does the laundry. He's like, he's the one that he does all the little emotional labor things that women normally do. Because his father just doesn't do it. Like, they don't really tell us like what would happen if he didn't do X, Y, or Z. But it is very interesting that they would put that level of pressure on him at such a young age.
And it's not to say like I think that there's a very good thing in that, and that is I think it's representative of something that does happen more often than we'd like to think. Where kids do have to pick up a lot of slack. Mm-hmm. Especially in households with working parents or caregivers. And so I think that, seeing that on screen is definitely something that I think, like, would resonate with a lot of kids watching it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the other part of it, like, is the fact that this idea of, like, yeah, but Ben clearly needed to be talking to somebody. He clearly needed, like, outlets for his feelings. And this movie, like, it goes awry the way it goes awry because Ben wants a mom and doesn't want, his dad, like, falling in love with someone new because he doesn't want to erase his mom. So he goes in and he messes with Pat's stuff.
Right.
And makes the AI, like, start to essentially behave and feel and, like, give it artificial sort of human emotions. Which is what drives everything. Right. And it's like, well, maybe if Ben had been having conversations with people,
this wouldn't have happened.
He wouldn't have had to do that. He wouldn't have had to feel, if Ben and his father had a conversation where his father understood that Ben, like, needs to feel supported and loved and looked after because he is still a child, even though he's doing so much and he's being and handling it impressively, it seems on the outside, like he is still a kid. And, this could have all been avoided if Ben had gone to therapy. It's the baseline of that.
Ben
so take your kids to therapy? Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, like I said, there's an argument to be made. Everybody should be in therapy. But,
this one, Ben definitely needed it.
If you hear your kid, like, asking Siri to sing it Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, like, maybe you should.
Maybe they're missing something.
Maybe the next step is to,
It could also be that you're an absent father, like his father.
So consider that.
That could also be another reason.
Both of those are...
Because clearly his dad needed, to see someone as well. They all needed to go see a family therapist. I think that would have solved a lot of issues.
Except the little one. The little girl was shockingly well-adjusted.
She was very well-adjusted. She was just like, I don't know what to do with either of you. She frequently looked exasperated.
That is the best way to describe it. And she was definitely all of 8 years old. Which I think is very telling.
And she was just like, my daddy can't do my damn hair. My brother's over here making me tuna casserole again in his Timbs. And here I am just trying to take my ass to school every day and not have issues. She was carrying that whole family on her back. Shout out to her.
She's a great little actress. She's been in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, she's in actually quite a few Disney films.
Yeah.
We'll have to bring her up again when we come across another one that she's in. And then something else that we discussed was how ahead of its time this technology was. Like the fact that it's even called Smart House, and now that's like a common nomenclature. Like by Amazon and by all these big companies, is that you want to have like a smart home and like where everything is controlled by technology, so you can walk in, your heat is on, your phone's all plugged, like everything is good.
It's like an early episode of Black Mirror.
It is.
Like that is what this movie plays like.
It is. True visionaries. The people that wrote the screenplay.
and shout out to LeVar.
And shout out to LeVar for directing
hell out of that.
It's actually it's very well done. Like especially for a Disney Channel original movie, which I feel like all of us, we're like, oh, we enjoyed that when we were kids, but sometimes kids films don't necessarily live up to things when you get older. This was a very good one. Like we rewatched it and it still held up. It was still very funny. It still was endearing, We saw the problems, of course, but
yeah, but
it still was an enjoyable film to watch, even as like grown-ass people.
Yeah. I mean, and I think it's really interesting, like the idea of it's an early Black Mirror episode or this, and it's obviously a conversation that is at the forefront of many things. It's why we have shows like Black Mirror. This navigating this space between technology as a tool and technology as a potential like source of intense harm, and sort of just how much power over our lives we are putting in the hands of coders and the codes that they are creating, and the big tech that runs it, and all of those things. And I mean, it's not like I don't have an answer for any of that, on whether or not it's an ultimate good or an ultimate evil. But I do think just having watched this, it was just another space to sort of think about that. And also think about just how, my generation, Chelsea, your generation, our generation.
We're acting like we weren't born the same year.
Exactly. But just thinking about how our generation, that was on the cusp of this thing that like interacted with this sort of first in a purely like consumer way. How we were watching movies like this at the helm of that.
Right.
And I wonder if I know. I'm not going to say Smart House scared me away from technology, but if, watching this, I was like, maybe some things settled in there in my subconscious where I was like, I'm not going to delve so deep. And at the same time, I can watch it and imagine, like, another person sitting next to me, like, I don't know, Chelsea, how you particularly respond to that, but I can imagine another person who was my age watching it sitting next to me and thinking, like, oh, well, this is why I love my smartphone so much, or this is why I love my Alexa so much, because I remember watching this when I was little and being like, I want that.
Right.
I want to be able to say, make me a banana smoothie, and it just happens.
Or for something to read your mind to a degree where it's like, I know that when you come into your room, you want a field of daisies on the screen. Because there's screens. If you don't remember that, all the walls turn into screens.
which is amazing.
Which is amazing.
It's so amazing.
And
Also, shout out to the
we haven't
VFX team.
Done really yet?
Well done.
Very well done. I think that's the only part of this film that we haven't fully done that in the real world as of yet. I'm sure we're getting there so that we can be even more like Fahrenheit 1985?
Which one? What?
Ray
451?
Yes. Ray Bradbury. No, because that's part of the... Do you remember the book?
No, I do, but it's like, but then you said 1985. I was like, which one are you talking about? They're both dystopic, but which one?
No, the one by Ray Bradbury, because that's part of the thing is that everybody has screens because they can't read.
Yeah.
Because they're illiterate. So I'm just saying that's the only part we haven't tackled yet on the real world. We've done like projector screens, but like in the movie,
but
it's
like
literally
built,
like screens.
literal built-in sort of
that
built into the wall screens that can change at the drop of a hat.
Right. So
like LED light bulbs, but even better.
Yes. Yes. So yeah, which makes it like an extra cool thing. But I do agree with you. Like I don't think I personally, it didn't reinforce my love for like smart technology, but I also feel like looking back at it now, you know all the ills of it. So yeah. I don't feel like a lot of people in our generation would look at this and would be like, maybe like maybe it's not all evil. But it's a very interesting, look into that at a very early time before I feel like anybody was really thinking about it. And then also bringing it down from like being an adult only type of discussion, but bringing it down to children.
And recognizing that children were going to be the ones who, because in it he is very good with technology, and he like does he code? I can't remember exactly.
I know he's the one, because again, the poor child carries the whole house on his back along with his sister. He's the one that is like, he's the one that knows how to use the computer. Yeah. He's the one that knows how to use he uses all the stuff, and his dad's just kind of like, like, you take care of it. He's also not an old man. I don't know why.
I love this voice that his dad has got.
His dad is maybe like 43 or something. Like, he's not that old.
That's good. But yeah, like I like that they like sort of saw this, and sort of recognized that like, like children were going to be the ones who interacted with this space, which again like might not be a huge leap at the time, but. It's just looking back on it,
it was very apt for the time. Yeah, it's okay.
It's weird.
It was very apt for the time, and I guess we want to just kind of end it with asking. So, Nina, would you show this film to your kids?
Yeah, I think I would. If
we don't have kids. But like,
let's make this very clear. We don't have children. If for no other reason, so y'all don't think we're like bad parents. We don't have kids.
We're just over here, and the kids are just listening.
Or like coming at all parents and then like, we don't have kids. We're doing this right.
This is very.
But yeah, I think I would. I think it's something that I would sit and I would watch it with them. Mm-hmm. And not in a way of, not in sort of like a educational is the wrong word, but not in an attempt to sort of make sure they're catching the right thing from it. Mm-hmm. Because I actually don't think, I think that it's rare in that way, where it's a film where, actually, like, whichever one you take away, whatever you take away from this film is probably fine. Right. There's nothing in it that seems particularly like a potentially harmful mode of thought. Right. But it's fun. Like, it's such a fun film. Mm-hmm. And I think that it's really like there's a little bit of something in it for everyone. I like that, they show this kid and like, yes, he's taking on too much responsibility, but they also do this thing where I think they're breaking down gender roles in a certain way in which, he. Ben doesn't. At no point is he shirking like doing the cooking. He's not like he's not like I want to do that because it's women's work.
Entitled.
It's none
of he's not
none
entitled.
of that. Like there's a gender breakdown there that I really like and really appreciate. I like the way in which like he genuinely cares for his little sister. Like their siblings and they care for each other. Like I think it has a lot of good things in it, and it's coming through like a very fun experience, you know? Because I can imagine, I still, like, the scene where the oranges spill out of the thing is still one of the most, like, I just love that image. And I've loved that image since I was 6, you know? And I think that, like, I would love to see, you know, watch my kids' eyes, like, light up when they see that.
Right.
So I think, yes, I would definitely, like, show it to my kids. I'd watch it with my kids. I'd let them watch it as many times as they want. I think I don't think that that there are many problems with the film. I think it's pretty. Ben does need a lot of therapy. Yes. I think if anything, at the end of it, I would let them know. I'd be like, listen, if you ever like talk to me,
like if just let me know, like you're carrying our whole house on your back.
Just let me know, please. Like I can't promise you that I'm gonna fix it, but at least let me know. Yeah, I think that's my takeaway.
But would you let them watch it in your smart home?
Siri.
Play smart house.
Play smart house. I don't understand that command. Would you like me to turn on the music?
I agree too. I would let my kids definitely watch it. Another thing that I kind of liked about this is unlike a lot of Disney Channel unlike a lot of Disney films, I'll do the differentiation between the Disney, like the fairy tales and the theatrically released ones, and then like these original movies. I think unlike a lot of the theatrically released ones, this one isn't all focused on romance, which I like, because I feel like a lot of Disney theatrical ones, it's all just about princess, damsel in distress, needs to get saved by a man, you know, except for like Frozen is a little bit different, but that only came out
Lilo and Stitch, we always forget.
Lilo and Stitch. But I don't think she's considered a princess, though.
No, I know that, but I'm still...
It's Moana.
I'm just saying.
Moana doesn't have a love interest either, though.
No. But those are all new, though.
Yeah, no.
That's like they made that decision
7 years.
not to do that because of all the criticism there.
Right. And even I'd say, like, in other Disney Channel original movies, there's a lot of, like, romance stuff, and not to like discount that, because I think that is a part of, you know, kids growing up and you have crushes, and like it's very much like that's part of life,
and
all of that. But I think this one is nice because it's there, but it's not harped on too much. Like it's like, okay, yeah, clearly he has a crush because he's like 14 years old and he's with his boys and he wants to hang out with his...
It's like 2 minutes of the movie. It's
like literally,
not
it's so,
even...
I don't even remember her name. Like it's so inconsequential. The bigger love story
is like him and his his father and like
it's the family.
Scientist woman with the scarves.
Right. Oh my god. The one scientist has so many scarves. Like, it's insane.
The little skinny ones that you tie. Again, it's, oh god, the 90s, man.
This is also the other thing
90s.
where it's like, the parents are never dressed in the time era. It's always like they only dress the kids in the time era, because the parents are dressed like...
I guess khakis are timeless.
The most bland outfits.
Khakis are timeless.
True. It's just like, and she's just wearing like, I don't know. I was like, girl,
I think it's
what
early.
Do you have
like, oh god, we're gonna
early 2000s.
Yeah, we're about to anger so many different like franchises, but it very much reminded me of like a bad version of Charmed. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like the way she was dressed. Like I was like.
Yes.
Like I could see Phoebe like doing something like this, but this would be like this is the low budget version.
Yeah, but better. Yeah, no, it's like they only had the kids and like all of it, which maybe is what was happened. There was like this divide between what the parents were into, because I think this is something that I forget, where it's like if you had like a 13-year-old child at the time, you were probably born in like the late 50s, you know? Just because it's like mathematically, that's the only way that would work. Because I mean, you had said child 60s. In the 80s.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's like you had that
early 60s.
Maybe, so you're either early 60s, late 50s, but it's a very different...
Either way, it's in that era of great America.
Right. You grew up in a very different America than your kids are now growing up listening to the Criss Cross. So It's just something to keep in mind. But yeah, I would definitely show this to my kids. And I think it's a great movie. It's fun. I highly recommend you rewatch if you haven't seen it in a couple years. Is it on Disney Plus?
It is on Disney Plus.
It's on Disney Plus.
Hear that plug? Disney, we're giving you money, so don't. Don't come at us too hard with that lawsuit.
Please don't.
That'd be nice. Quid pro quo, my friends.
That's what we love.
Yes,
but yeah, I think overall this is a really good one.
Yeah, definitely. I still say top 3. I'm not fully there yet. Like we haven't watched all of them yet, but top 3.
Top 3.
That's my prediction.
Yeah. Maybe one of these new ones though is going to blow us out of the park, but
yeah, we'll see. We shall see.
We shall see. Anyways, thank you so much for listening.
And we will
catch you next week where we talk about another one. Hopefully it'll be more or less interesting. More, less.
More, always more?
Not every original movie is good. I mean, we have to keep that in mind.
This is true. It's a sad truth, y'all. But those might be even more fun, though, because then we get to
really go in.
Right? Alright, so stay tuned, and thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of The Critics Kingdom. Don't forget to follow us on Spotify and SoundCloud so you can stay up to date, as well as interacting and letting us know what you guys think on social media. You can find us on Twitter at Critics Kingdom and on Instagram at The Critics Kingdom. We're excited to talk to you again next week.